Inquirer Mirror. The first story today comes from the top of the front page and is headlined, Select Board Skeptical of Later Bar Hours, but Approves Cisco's Request, by Dean Geddes, June 15th. A new state law may allow later bar hours this summer, but Select Board members made clear Monday they are not eager to use it to allow Nantucket Island bars to serve alcohol past 1 a.m. They did, however, approve a request from Cisco Brewers, the popular mid-island venue that typically closes at 7 p.m., to extend its entertainment license to 10 p.m. on some nights to show World Cup games on an outdoor screen. The issue came up during the board's regularly scheduled licensing meeting after Governor Maura Healey signed a bill last week allowing communities to opt into the temporary program. On Nantucket, where bars are currently limited to a 1 a.m. closing time, the law could allow alcohol service until 2 a.m. if the town opted in. No local bars have formally requested the later hours, board members said. Board member Brooke Moore said at the meeting that she was not inclined to support the change. I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think we need to add pressure on staffing or local law enforcement during the height of the summer season, Moore said. Moore said that the board should signal to bars that approval would be unlikely if they applied. Barring somebody coming in with a really good pitch for why they need it, I'd like to signal that I'm disinclined, she said. Board member Bobby DeCosta said that the only interest he had heard from local establishments was the possibility of a specific major game running late, but he also said he did not see a need to extend hours. I don't think it's broken, DeCosta said. Nothing good happens after 1 o'clock. Select Board Chair Dawn Hill said that the board appeared to be on the same page. The item had been placed on the agenda so the board could discuss the new law, but there were no license holders' requests before the board on Monday. The board was more receptive to a separate request from Cisco Brewers, which generally closes at 7 p.m., to allow televised World Cup games later in the evening. The board voted 4-0 to temporarily allow Cisco Brewers to show World Cup games on an outdoor screen until 10 p.m. on select nights. The approval was limited to television through house speakers and did not include live music. It also did not require a change to Cisco's alcohol license or pouring permit, although the brewer typically closes at 7 p.m. Town officials said that its pouring permit already allows alcohol service until 11 p.m. Cisco Brewers co-owner Jay Harmon said that the brewery hoped to install a 12 by 7 foot screen and create a community viewing area for some of the games. The approval requires Cisco to notify abutters on dates when it will extend beyond the normal hours and report back to licensing administrator Amy Baxter so the town can assess any neighborhood impacts. Our next story from the front page is headlined, Community Food Hub Officially Opens, by Kay Quigley, June 15th. Nantucket's Community Food Hub on Boynton Lane officially opened to the public following a ribbon-cutting ceremony Sunday. The facility, formerly home to Kimberly Reed's Taste of Nantucket Catering Company, was renovated over the last several months for its new use. It will serve as the new home for the Nantucket Interfaith Council's food pantry, which began welcoming clients in late April, headquarters for Nourish Nantucket to continue offering its various food programs, and the location of the Nantucket Land Bank's venison processing facility, which began taking in deer from island hunters this fall. The building was purchased jointly by the Land Bank and Nourish Nantucket in October of 2025 and was slated to become the island's food hub for years to come. The $6.5 million purchase was covered mostly by the Land Bank, with Nourish Nantucket contributing $1 million. The property is owned 60% by the Land Bank and 40% by Nourish Nantucket. The first floor of the building features a new food pantry space and offices for the Interfaith Council's Nantucket Food, Fuel, and Rental Assistance programs. The venison processing facility, which aims to support food security while addressing the island's deer management goals, takes up the basement. Also on the first floor is a newly renovated commercial kitchen, which will be used for food rescue and cooking ready-made meals for both Nourish Nantucket and food pantry clientele. A section of the first floor will also feature a food pantry dedicated to pets. Renovations were helped along the way with a $1 million grant from the United States Department of Agriculture and significant funding from the Community Foundation for Nantucket. It became real for me today, Nourish Nantucket Board President and Select Board Member Brooke Moore said Sunday at the ribbon-cutting ceremony, attended by several dozen stakeholders and supporters. I've been in this building every day since October 29th when we closed, getting us through construction, permitting, moving in, learning how to be roommates, and having all of you here today really brings it home. Nantucket is a unique and special place where we pride ourselves on the shared value of making sure that all members of our community are cared for when they are in need. Nourish Nantucket was founded on the principle that by working together we can accomplish great things, and this building is a testament to that core belief, she said. This may be the only place in the country where a problem this complex, this serious, could be nearly solved in this amount of time, Nourish Nantucket board member Bruce Pursley said on Sunday. When people on this island put their minds to something, it gets done. Now we have not solved the food insecurity program, but we are well on our way, and this could not happen without an incredible amount of cooperation. Together, our triumvirate has produced an extraordinary outcome, he said. About 1 in 3 year-round Nantucket families experience some type of food insecurity, according to the Greater Boston Food Bank. The notion that in a land of plenty, which this is, to have 40% of the population or more not have enough food is something that is very difficult to process. When people are told this the first time, they do not believe it, but it is true. And this island cannot function without anyone having enough food on their plate to do their jobs, be it teachers or nurses or members of the Coast Guard or people who mow your lawn. It does not matter. So what we are doing here today is absolutely critical, Pursley said. Just as we work to preserve Nantucket's land for the long-term benefit of the community food hub puts the same amount of work ensuring that our neighbors have access to fresh local food. It's a reminder that conservation is not just about protecting open space, it's about nurturing the people and community that make this island worth preserving, Land Bank Executive Director Rachel Freeman said. Nantucket's legislative delegation of State Senator Julian Sear and Representative Thomas Moakley were also in attendance on Sunday. A lot of our colleagues in Boston, when they think of Nantucket, they don't think of it as a place that is constantly facing housing and food insecurity on a daily basis. You guys see that every day, and you've done something about it. So I'm really proud to represent Nantucket and really grateful for all of your work in making this happen, Moakley said. This is a model and an example of what this very special place does when we face very strong headwinds, Sear said. I'm just really excited to see this place flourish, and we are at your beck and call to assist whenever we can. Our next story, the last from the front page, is headlined, Nantucket High School Graduates Class of 2026 by Sarah Roberts, June 17th. Nantucket High School's class of 2026 graduated Friday evening at Vito Capizio Stadium in a ceremony filled with advice about taking chances, treating people with kindness, and remembering the example set by longtime English teacher Paige Martineau. The 152 graduates of the class of 2026 and NHS alumni received more than $800,000 in scholarships this year, including the Nantucket Golf Club Foundation full tuition and free fees scholarship awarded to Maya Johnson and Danielle Lewis, and the vocational scholarships handed out earlier this year. Commencement speaker Jennifer Foyle, president and executive creative director of American Eagle Outfitters and Aerie, encouraged the students to always take the shot. She shared the story of how she took her shot and got into the retail business after a long stint in landscaping. She had an interview with the former vice president of shopping services at Bloomingdale's, Marion Goodman. Goodman told Foyle it wasn't going to be an easy desk job. I looked at her and I said, Marion Goodman, I can hurl 50-pound blueberry bushes and my desk is on my feet. I was psyched. I was so sure enough I landed that job, and I think my one learning, and this is going to be lesson 1, please take that shot, Foyle said. Foyle also encouraged the graduates to always treat people with kindness as they continued to evolve in the world. Be nice to the people on your way up, because they will be there to catch you when you fall, Foyle said. There were many heartfelt tributes to Paige Martineau, the longtime Nantucket High School English teacher and Teachers Union president who died in November of 2025. Graduate Bianca Japp described Martineau as independent and self-assured. She took what time she had left to educate and advocate for others by teaching the importance of plasma donations and how it saves the lives of people going through chemotherapy. Even during her dark time, she still managed to spread her kindness to others, Japp said. Valedictorian Jacob Henke and salutatorian Danielle Lewis, Superintendent Beth Hallett, and Nantucket High School Principal Mandy Heilman also shared brief remarks before the presentation of diplomas. Lewis touched on the camaraderie that develops through the many unique experiences that come with growing up 30 miles out to sea. She also encouraged her fellow class of 2026 graduates to always remember where they started and all that they've accomplished. I want to close by saying this. People will tell you it's dark out and that the world can be a scary place. Sometimes it may seem that all hope is lost. But no matter how ridiculous the odds may seem, within us resides the power to overcome these challenges and achieve something beautiful. That one day we'll look back at where we came from, look back at where we started, and be amazed by how far we've come, Lewis said. Henke's speech was also full of encouragement for his fellow graduates, but not without touching on the bittersweetness of saying goodbye to Nantucket High School. No matter what path you choose, greatness is personal. Looking out at all of you, it's hard to accept that I won't see some of you again after this. But I know that everyone is off to bigger and better things. In the words of the great Winnie the Pooh, how lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. But still, every story must come to an end before the next one can begin, Henke said. Heilman reminded the graduates of the benefits of living in such a small community, but encouraged them to explore the world more wherever their paths led them next. Growing up on an island teaches you lessons that cannot be found in the textbook. You learn that community matters. You learn that people depend on one another. You learn that when one person succeeds, the entire community celebrates. When one person struggles, others step forward to offer help and assistance. Those lessons have shaped who you are, she said. As you leave this island, as many of you will, or change direction or path that you will take on this island and begin the next chapter of your lives, you will discover bigger campuses, larger cities, new communities, new places, new buildings, bigger goals, and new purpose, Heilman said. Hallett took her speech as a moment to congratulate the graduates on every accomplishment they made, whether it was academically, in sports, music, or any other medium. She also simply reminded them that kindness should always remain. I hope that you'll keep in mind just how important simple kindness is. I'm reminded of a beautiful truth by writer Olivia Ann Rose Clark, who wrote, "The greatest flex you will ever have is your ability to say kind in a world that gives you every reason not to be." Kindness is not weakness. It is emotional strength, self-control, and wisdom stitched together. It's choosing compassion over ego, softness over performance, presence over attention, she said. Our next story is headlined, 4th of July Water Fight Back On Thanks to a Water Donation by Sarah Roberts, June 12th. Nantucket's annual 4th of July water fight on Main Street is back on. The town announced Thursday, thanks to a donation of thousands of gallons of water of off-island water from J.P. Noonan Transportation. In recognition of the 250th anniversary of the United States and in response to a significant donation from a business, the town has determined that the event can proceed in a manner consistent with its current Level 2 mandatory drought declaration. All water used in this year's contest will be donated and transported from off-island with no impact on the town's water supply, the town's press release states. J.P. Noonan Transportation had donated 8,000 gallons of water to the town of Nantucket for the event. The town also acknowledged a number of local businesses and individuals that have contributed to make the water fight a reality this year. Tuscana Corporation, Eric Rogers and Carl Jellamy, Nantucket Energy, Phil Marks, Holgate Partners and Robert B. Orr Company, Inc., Michael Day. The water will be transported to the island June the 25th, the release states, and be stored by local contractors until July 4th, when it will be transported to Main Street. The water will supply 2 Nantucket Fire Department tankers and the Ranney family fire engine, according to the release. At last night's Select Board meeting, the town announced the cancellation of the water fight for what would have been the second consecutive year due to continuing drought conditions. The island moved back to a Level 2 drought in early May, and that triggered outdoor water use restrictions for property owners on town water, just as seasonal businesses, landscapers, residents, and vacationers are preparing for the summer. According to the Nantucket Historical Association, the Main Street water fight began in 1981 when real estate broker H. Flint Ranney, who owned an antique fire engine, challenged the then fire chief, Bruce Watts, to a water duel. Since then, thousands of people with water guns and water balloons have battled it out on Main Street, soaking each other and getting hosed by the fire department. It has become a crowd favorite for children and adults alike. It has been modified in recent years due to increased public safety concerns, but still features the antique pumper of the Boynton Lane Fire Reserves, now led by Ranney's son Rob, against the modern equipment of the NFD. Our next story is headlined, Lepre Smith Ousted from the Board of Health by Sarah Roberts, June 12th. The Select Board has replaced incumbents Mary Lepre and Ann Smith on the Board of Health, with first-time applicants Kate Garrett and Ernest Strang. The Board of Health sparked controversy earlier this year when members discussed drafting regulations that would prohibit the public schools from installing artificial turf at Nantucket High School's Vito Capizzo Stadium, prompting multiple open meeting law violations and complaints after a March meeting. I'm honored to join the Nantucket Board of Health and am grateful for the trust the Select Board has placed in me. As a nurse, my goal is to bring an evidence-based, community-first approach to every decision we make. I look forward to working alongside my fellow board members to protect the health and well-being of everyone who calls this island home, Garrett said on Thursday. Strang owns an island construction and transportation company. Along with Lepre, Smith, Garrett, and Strang, Amy Beaton also applied for a seat on the board but received no votes. Select Board member Matt Fee was the only Select Board member to vote for Smith and Lepre. Smith in a statement expressed disappointment in not being reappointed to the board and said she felt she handled the issues that came before her board in an appropriate manner. I am disappointed by the Select Board's decision not to reappoint me to the Board of Health, and I am troubled by the incorrect implication that I lacked objectivity in evaluating the issues surrounding the proposed artificial turf field, as well as allegations of, quote, things that happened during meetings, end quote. At no time did I ever express bias or give my opinion, as has been inaccurately described by some, Smith's statement said. Smith also expressed some concerns about the Select Board's appointing authority. While I respect the Select Board's appointing authority, I believe that removing certain members and appointing other members who have already publicly expressed support of a specific outcome in an issue raises questions about maintaining a critical standard of impartiality and sets a concerning precedent for the future, Smith's statement reads. Garrett has been an outspoken supporter of the synthetic turf project. Lepre, a school nurse who raised concerns about the potential impact of the so-called forever chemicals PFAS that the turf might contain, shared similar disappointments to Smith and said that she felt that the best interests of the community were at the forefront of her decisions. In my opinion, the Board of Health often requires asking difficult questions and making unpopular decisions before others see the potential danger lurking. Making recommendations to prevent injury or insult to our community in the short and long term results in the board being out of public favor, she said in a statement. Nevertheless, the board is tasked with making difficult decisions based on scientific evidence with the intention to protect people in our community, not just for today, but for years to come. Clean water is essential to our life on Nantucket, and public health is about recognizing threats before they become emergencies. When it comes to our water being safe for consumption, we don't have resources plentiful enough to allow for emergencies. It is disappointing that I will not be able to continue on this board in a decision-making capacity, but I can assure you all that I remain committed to the true mission of the Board of Health and will do all that I can as a private citizen and resident to protect our community, the statement continues. Below, or next, are the rest of the commissions, and board appointments made Wednesday, both contested and uncontested. Other contested races. The Conservation Commission had 2 seats up for appointment and 3 applicants. Incumbent Tim Brain and R.J. Turcott were reappointed on unanimous votes from the Select Board. New applicant Benjamin Ruppert received no votes. Contract Review Committee Human Services, with 1 seat and 2 applicants. Incumbent Linda Williams was reappointed to the Contract Review Committee with 3 votes from Chair Dawn Hill, Bob DaCosta, and Jill Veith. Tara Risteri received votes from Vice Chair Brooke Moore and Matt Fee. Finance Committee. With 3 seats available and 4 applicants, incumbent Rob Giacchetti, Joanna Roach, and Martin McCarroll were reappointed in a unanimous vote. Benjamin Ruppert received no votes. Real Estate Assessment Committee, incumbent Nat Lowell was unanimously reappointed, and incumbent Jesse Bell was reappointed with votes from Hill, Moore, DaCosta, and Veith. Lee Tesser received a vote from Fee. Tree Advisory Committee. For 3 seats and 4 applicants, incumbent Mary Longacre received votes from Fee, DaCosta, Hill, and Moore. David Gray received votes from DaCosta, Hill, and Moore. Benjamin Ruppert received a vote from Fee. Veith recused herself from the vote. And finally, today we have the District Court Report by Sarah Roberts, June 17th. A Union Street man is facing assault and battery charges for allegedly punching a family member last week. Josiah Brooks, 55, of 6 Union Street, was arraigned in Nantucket District Court Monday on a June 10th charge of assault and battery on a disabled person or a person 60 or older. A not guilty plea was entered on his behalf, and he was ordered to return to court July 6th for pretrial hearing. According to the police report, just before 5 p.m. June the 10th, officers responded to a domestic dispute where the alleged victim told them Brooks was helping him move and called him, quote, white trash, end quote, and other insults, then struck him in the head 12 times. Officers were able to confirm the account by reviewing video footage, the report states. In other district court news, Brian Castillo Montanado, 26, of 35 Bartlett Road, was arraigned on June 9th, charges of possession of a Class B drug and unlicensed operation of a motor vehicle. Not guilty and not responsible pleas were entered on his behalf, and he was ordered to return to court July 21st for a pretrial hearing. Miles Coleman, 37, of New York, had on April 12, 2025, charges of negligent operation of a motor vehicle and marked lanes violation and failure to stop or yield, dismissed due to a lack of prosecution. Coleman also had a separate April 21st, 2025 charge of leaving the scene of property damage and a marked lanes violation, dismissed at the request of prosecutors. He was found not responsible for a charge of negligent operation of a motor vehicle. Jorge Diaz Torres, 44, of 9 Square Rigger Road, was arraigned on July 11th, charges of operating a motor vehicle under the influence of alcohol, negligent operation of a motor vehicle lights violation, and failure to wear a seatbelt. Not guilty and not responsible pleas were entered on his behalf, and he was ordered to return to court July 27th for a pretrial hearing. Joshua Holgate, 37, of 13 Hinsdale Road, was arraigned on July 10th, charge of assault and battery. Not guilty pleas was entered on his behalf, and he was ordered to return to court July 6th for a pretrial hearing. Hilado Gil de los Santos, 41, of 5 Essex Road, was arraigned on June 14th, charges of operating a motor vehicle under the influence of alcohol, negligent operation of a motor vehicle, and failure to stop or yield. Not guilty and not responsible pleas were entered on his behalf, and he was ordered to return to court August 10th for a pretrial hearing. Cristian Constata de la Verde, Landaverde, 20, of 31 Old South Road, was arraigned on June 12th, charges of unlicensed operation of a motor vehicle and failure to stop or yield. Not responsible pleas were entered on his behalf. The charge of unlicensed operation of a motor vehicle will be dismissed on the condition that he pays $100 in court costs. He was found not responsible for failing to stop or yield. That's all I have time for. This is your reader, Chuck Gifford, saying goodbye, and thanks for listening.